Hello everyone, and this is Maken X here, and today we're going to be doing a video response to a good YouTube friend of mine named Xander Skullions, who is a part of the Access Gaming podcast, which is actually pretty awesome stuff. So he recently did a video talking about games that he wanted to get like remastered or HD collectioned or any of that kind of stuff, which has been happening quite a bit recently, mostly of the starting when the PS4 and Xbox One came out. So yeah, I originally wanted to do a video like this like quite a while ago, but just never got around to doing it. But because he did one recently, and I figured, you know what, I feel like doing this now, and it's also good to be doing this to a video response, because video responses are a great thing. So with that being said, before we talk about some of the games that I would actually want to have like remastered or HD collection, whatever you want to call it, the one thing he said at the beginning of the video that I actually completely agree with was that he said that at first he didn't really like most of the HD collections that came out because a lot of them kind of seemed a bit unnecessary, and I actually have to agree with that, mostly because a lot of the games that they were making into HD remasters were not really the greatest things ever. I mean, just one example was the Uncharted games. Like, don't get me wrong, those games are fucking great, but the thing is that you can get like 1, 2, and 3 on PS3 for like way cheaper than buying the HD collection, and honestly, the games are already in HD and they still look very good and they still play very good. So really, I mean, I don't really see a point in doing that unless, I don't know, maybe you never played any of them, but other than that, though, you would still be able to get all 3 of them cheaper, so whatever. Either way, that's just an example of one. There's actually a couple other ones that they did that I also felt that were not really my most favorite thing ever, but if you haven't played them before, then, it's not a big deal, but if you already have them or anything like that, it's kind of like, well, shit. Well, anyways, these are some of my suggestions I'm going to say of games that I think definitely would love to have remastered. So the first one I want to mention is the Clock Tower series. Now, I don't have all of them. I only have the original reproduction card of the first one on Super Nintendo, then there's number 3 on PS2. But I have played a little bit of the first one on PS1, and that game was actually pretty damn freaky. Now, the reason why I want something like this to get HD remastered is because I think this is a very unique survival horror. It was something that was very different. I mean, there was literally no way for you to attack anything. I mean, you really had to like run and hide and stuff, and it was a very interesting concept. Although this one did play things a little bit differently, where, it wasn't like a point and click, and not only that, but there was boss fights, and in the boss fights, like, that was like the only time you were able to fight, but it wasn't like anything that was like too crazy, but it was still pretty weird. But I know a lot of people don't like this one as much, but I still actually really enjoyed it though, at least for what it was. But it was definitely very different though. But anyways though, I think this is definitely something I think should get like a remastered though, because I know some of the Clock Tower games are getting a bit harder to find, and not only that, but it's just a really, really good series of games that I really enjoyed. And for one, another thing is that I have heard that there was supposed to be a spiritual successor. I forget what the name of it was, but for some reason I haven't heard like anything about it whatsoever, so I don't even know if it's actually going to happen, but because this was like 2 years ago and I haven't heard anything since then. So yeah, with that being said, I don't know if that will actually happen, but if it does, it would be awesome. But we'll have to wait and see. I don't know, maybe they might announce something at E3 or something. The next one that I would really like to have a remaster would be the game Geist, which was only on the GameCube. It was actually the second game on the GameCube that got an M rating that was published by Nintendo. The first one being Eternal Darkness, which is actually one that he suggested, which is something I would actually agree with. So anyways, the reason why I'm saying Geist is because I almost said Gust. Anyways, yeah, so for Geist, the reason why I really want to have this one to be an HD remaster is because this game is very overlooked. Now, yes, the game is pretty cheap, and it can be pretty easy to come by, which is good, but I think the game is doesn't get talked about as much, and it's a first-person shooter, but it's very different because it's a first-person shooter where basically at the beginning of the game you die, and then when you come back as a ghost and you can possess into things, and then after possessing things you can actually scare people, then you possess into them, and sometimes you can even possess into soldiers, and they have guns, and you just shoot everything. It's great. Also, the multiplayer in this game is awesome, and I know the GameCube didn't have any online, but playing this game with friends was just awesome. Definitely love it a lot. And I think if this game did have an HD remastered on probably the Wii U, unless, I don't know, maybe there could be something where they can release it multi-platform, but I would definitely see it being on remastering on a Nintendo console though, if it was possible. So with that being said, I think that with that, they could actually add some multiplayer like online with it, which would be really cool to have. And I actually did a review on it like sometime when I first started, and the review wasn't very good, but hey, what can I say? I was starting out at that time. But anyways, with that being said, definitely a very good game that I would definitely love to see like make a comeback. So now, as for the next game we're going to be talking about, this is actually a game I don't actually have, but it's a game that was actually developed by Squaresoft, and it happens to be Bisutti Blade, and it's a fighting game. Now, this is a game where pretty much you use, like, swords, long swords, or, like, lances and stuff. You usually use a lot of, like, long weapons like that, and pretty much if you get hit once, you die. So pretty much the game is very strategic, and it's also can be very intense, which is what I really like about it. Playing it with friends is just totally a lot of fun. I definitely would recommend it. And they actually have two of them, like this Bisutti Blade 1 and 2, and they're both on PS1. I don't know how much the games cost normally, but I can tell you one thing, I definitely don't see them around that often, but I think they can definitely do an HD remaster of this, because this is something you don't see very often. It's very unique, and not only that, but it's just something you just don't see very often at all. I think I already said that, but hey, what can I say? The game is actually great, and I think that Squaresoft can, or Square Enix, now what they're called now, but I think they can definitely make another one, or at least, I don't know, maybe make it on PSN, or maybe even make like a HD version of it where it has like, you know, like HD graphics and trophy support and whatnot. I don't know. Whatever the case is, I think it should definitely be done, because that is a series that I really, really miss a lot. Alright, so the next one I'm going to mention is the .hack series, or more specifically the GU, because this is the one that I actually have the whole thing of, and I've actually played through most of them. But I'm going to plan on replaying most of them again. But with that aside, so the reasons why I want this to be HD remastered is mostly because I think that these games would definitely benefit from that, because unfortunately they didn't sell a whole lot at the time when they were released. I mean, yeah, they were actually able to make 3 parts, which is very good, but they were also released pretty late within the PS2 library, and not only that, but they're actually very, very good games. At least I really like them. They're pretty much like a Tales of game, but just, you know, with .hack, and I'm actually a fan of that anime series, so, you know, I really like the story, I really like the characters, I like the setting, and all that good stuff. I think it's just really, really awesome. And not only that, but these games are really expensive, or at least they're getting really expensive. I know sometimes some people sell like each part for like $100, which is pretty crazy, but yeah, so if they actually did do an HD remastered of them, you know, it would be easier for the fact that everything would just be compact. Alright, so the next game we're going to be talking about is a game on the Dreamcast called Maken X, and it was developed by Atlas of all people, which I think is really cool, and speaking of which, it actually has the same art style as the Shin Megami Tensei games. I forget what the artist's name is, but I'm sure someone's probably going to correct me on that, but either way, they always do an awesome job. So with that being said, it's a first-person shooter where you actually use a sword and you actually get to possess the things. Well, not things, you actually get possessing the people. So yeah, kind of like Geist, but just this came out before that. So that's actually pretty interesting. And I also find that the price for this game is actually very cheap. At least I got it for really cheap. I got it for, I think it was like $20 or $18 or something. I can't remember exactly. But it was actually very affordable, and it was definitely worth the price. Although I don't see it very often, because the first time I've ever seen it was the last time I've ever seen it, which is why I picked it up. So with that being said, something else I'd like to mention is that this game actually did get a sequel, but on the PS2, but it was only released in Japan, which is kind of unfortunate. So maybe if they did do an HD collection or something, they can add this and the second one and just bring it all over here, and, well, I'd be one happy camper. And the next one I'm going to be mentioning here is going to be the Growlancer series. I don't have all of them, I'm only missing one that got released in North America, and that happens to be the PSP one, which is called Wayfarer of Time. Now, let's just do a little bit of a rundown here. So, this is the first one that got released in North America, and it's called Generation, but the thing is, it actually comes with Growlancer 2 and 3, so we actually did get those, but we didn't get the first one, though, which was on PS1. And then this is Heritage of War, and if I remember right, I think it's number 5. It's really confusing. I know I covered it in my Strange Origins video, and I haven't even played this one yet, but I will get around to it eventually. But I have played a bit of 2, and I can say that this game is actually awesome. So what you need to know about this series is that it's a strategy or tactical RPG. It's actually more in real time, so it's not like a grid-based one. It's actually one where you actually have to select the character, and then you have to have like a cursor, and you like move it around like that. So everything's all done in real time, which is very interesting. I really like it. It actually makes it very intense because, you know, you're just trying to like move like the pieces all over. It's like, oh my god, no, I have to do it. Yeah, it gets pretty hectic, but man, it's actually really awesome though. I really like it, especially the music. The music is great. Though, unfortunately, the games can be a bit tough to come by, especially this one, because, you know, it's done by Working Design, and I know Working Design is a company that gets very sought after, and I have to say, this game is actually very good, but, like I said, the game can be a bit hard to come by, and it can get expensive, especially if you're trying to look for the Collector's Edition that comes with, like, everything, because, yes, this is the one that comes with the Collector's Edition, but I didn't come with everything, it only came with a deck of cards and a necklace, which I'm pretty happy with, considering I got it for a good price. But this one is a bit more cheaper, and it's also more easier access because this one actually did get released on PS3 on the PSN. But if they were ever to release this one on the PS4, they'll probably put it in the PS4 store or something. So yeah, so there's a good chance that this one might get re-released on there. As for this one though, I really hope so, and I don't know, maybe they might bring the first one, and maybe I think they made a sixth one that was, like, not released outside of Japan. I can't remember, like I said, I did a whole video on it, and I can't remember everything I said about it, but yeah, it gets kind of confusing, especially when they release them over here. But either way, just having all of them in one disc, over here in North America, and PAL, and obviously Japan, that'd be great. Alright, so the next one we're going to be talking about is Fighters Megamix on the Sega Saturn. Now, this is a fighting game where it actually takes Virtua Fighter and Fighting Vipers into one. Now that alone actually sounds pretty awesome, but the thing that makes it even better is the fact that you can actually play as a bunch of random characters, and funny enough, one of the random characters happens to be a car from Daytona, USA, and even a bear statue that is in the background of one of the stages, and yeah, you can actually play as that and kick people's asses with it. It's actually pretty awesome, and just fucking hilarious. So if they ever did make a new one, obviously I think it would have, like, play more like the modern one that they made. I think it was Virtua Fighter 5, I think? I can't remember. I think it might have been 5. You know, make it, like, look like that, play like that, but of course have, like, you know, the two fighting game characters, and maybe even add more Sega-related characters, you know. Have, like, Ryo from Shenmue, or have, like, Nights in the Dreams, or even Sonic characters. They'll probably definitely have that, probably. Or, you know, Vice from Skies of Arcadia, or, you know, so on and so forth. They can just add, like, a whole bunch of, like, Sega characters, and it would pretty much be like a Super Smash Bros. Game, but, you know, plays like Virtua Fighter, but with Sega characters. I think that'd be great. They could probably turn something like that into that if they did make a HD remaster of this or something. That would definitely be awesome, and I would love to see it. And of course, make more, like, ridiculous bullshit characters, because those are awesome. I don't know what they would come up with, though, but I'm pretty sure they can come up with something with their imagination. Either way, though, I would just love to see it happen. Alright, so this next one is another game that I don't actually own, but I have it on my emulator, which is great, and that happens to be ActRaiser. Now, there's actually two of these, but more people like the first one better, myself included, mostly because the second one, they kind of stripped it down more, but anyways, with that aside, so the first one, basically, half of it is a platformer that is kind of like the old style Castlevania games, and when you actually complete those parts, you actually make a town, like habitable, and then you have to build a town, which is actually very cool. And of course, you play as a god, and you get, like, money and such, and you also get, like, you have to build, like your town and such, you have to expand upon it, and then of course you're also, like, defending it from, like, potential things that could attack it, like dragons or monsters and such. It's actually a pretty awesome game that Enix made, or NX, or whatever you want to call them. So if they actually did make a new one of that, that would definitely be pretty damn amazing, and not only that, but if it ever did well enough, maybe we can actually get a third one for once, because that's a game that I definitely would say definitely needs more recognition. Alright, so the next one I'm going to be talking about is a series I so dearly love ever since I first picked it up from last year, and that happened to be Shadow Hearts. So, yeah, as you know, I have 1 and 3, I don't have 2, and I don't have the prequel one, which is called Kadoka, which is on PS1, and from what I've played of that one was actually pretty cool. So, with that being said, I really love this series a lot. I think it's very underrated. It definitely is pretty obscure, and not only that, but I also really like the ideas they had in it. It was very dark and gritty. I love the music. I pretty much love just about everything about it. But I definitely think it should get an HD remaster, mostly because, you know, not many people talked about it a lot, and not only that, but the games can be a little bit hard to come by. They're not ridiculously expensive, but of course if you're picking them all up at once, you know, it will add up, and yeah, it can be, so if you do get a bundle of it, you gotta keep that in mind. But but the thing that does suck is that the license for these games kind of got lost because the company that made them, Scanoff, they went dissolved, and then I know some of the characters, some of the the creators of the games actually moved on to another company, and I believe they made the game Lost Odyssey, from what I remember. Well, anyways, that's pretty cool and all. So I think this game, if it was possible to get this into an HD remastered or a HD collection, have all of them in one, or even released on PS4 with with the trophy support and the like the 1080p or whatever the hell it is, whatever they make it to make it look good. Well, either one of those, I'd be so damn happy with, and I don't know, even a spiritual successor to this series, that would definitely make me happy too. If it actually did come out. Alright, so we're going to be taking a look at one last game. Yeah, I decided to just do 10, and I know obviously I can name way more than 10, but we gotta keep it somewhere because I don't want this to go on too long. So the last game I'm going to mention, and yeah, this is actually a game I picked up very recently. I actually found it, and of course I'm going to talk more about that in the pickup video, so this is kind of like a sneak peek to that, in case you're wondering. So I decided to talk about this one now, and this game happens to be a PC game, and it's also part of one of my favorite bands. And with that being said, you might know what I'm already talking about, and that happens to be Iron Maiden's Ed Hunter. Yeah, definitely some fucking awesome shit right here. So anyways, in case you want to know what the game is about, it's pretty much a rail shooter that plays very similar to House of the Dead, which is actually pretty awesome in its own right. And not only that, but it actually features Iron Maiden songs, and actually has like the levels in the game are actually based after their albums, which I think is actually fucking awesome, and I definitely love the idea. So if this game did get a remastered, I would definitely love to see that. I mean, for one, it is only released on PC, and as you know, a lot of computer games that are only on disc you can't really play them unless you actually have an old computer, so this game should definitely get like a Steam release, a GOG release, and maybe if they release it on consoles, that would definitely be awesome. In case you're wondering how it would work on consoles, because I know that the current consoles don't really have they don't really have any peripherals, or at least I'm not aware of them having any peripherals, but I know, obviously you can do like the whole thing where you move it around with a cursor, which would probably work as long as they make it responsive. But one system I think would definitely benefit something like this from would probably be the Wii U, believe it or not. The reason why I say that is because you can actually use like the gamepad and like use it around to like move it like that, or you can actually use like the screen, use like the stylus and just like poke everything at the screen. I think that would definitely work really well. Or they can just make like an actual peripheral to come with it. That would definitely look pretty awesome. Or just to be fancy pantsy, they could just like make it into an arcade cabinet. I mean, I would love to have that, but of course I don't see that happening, but it would definitely be a really awesome idea. I can imagine it looking very badass. Well, anyways, this is something I would definitely love to see remastered, or at least something similar to it, or just having anything that's like, that's like a video game being based after like a band, or has like band themes into it. Anything like that, I would definitely dig into the idea. Alright, so those are some of the ideas of HD collections or HD remasters that I would love to see happen one day, or someday, or I don't know, maybe they might never happen, but hey, it's wishful thinking, right? And that's the whole fun of this, is just to give out some ideas, and maybe you never know, someone might be listening out there. So yeah, that's what I have to say about the video response to Xander, and all I have to say is that his video was also very good. He mentioned some really good ones, like, like I said, there was Eternal Darkness, and then there was also Power Stone, which is a game I've never actually played, but I always wanted to, but I haven't because, well, for one, the game is actually pretty expensive every time I see it, and not only that, but Dreamcast emulation is very wonky, so I just never really bothered to get around to that one, though. But I would definitely love to play it, and if they ever made a new one, then yeah, I would definitely love to see it. And he did mention some other good ones, too. Like, there was Legacy of Kain, which I've only played very little of it, so I can't say a whole lot about it, but I would still be happy to see a new one. So anyways, yeah, his video was very, very good, and of course I'm doing a response to it because I think it's a very good idea, and if you do want to do a video response to them, then go right ahead. It's definitely an awesome idea. So with that being said, hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching and commenting.